citizenship, a relapse into patterns of deception that Ghanaians have seen before and rejected before. A manufactured miracle. We are all told Ghana has turned a corner. GDP grew by 6%, inflation fell sharply, the cedi appreciated by over 40%. Success, they say. Victory, they claim. But at what cost? And for what benefit? First, much of the recovery began before President Mahama returned to power. It's rest on an IMF program we negotiated, fiscal consolidation we implemented, and a global gold boom we did not create. Second, the same IMF report they celebrate also warns of quasi-fiscal risk, laws-making gold schemes, and hidden vulnerabilities. They publicize the headlines, they downplay the warnings. And thirdly, a 40% cedi appreciation in 1 year is normal for an economy with our structural weaknesses. It erodes competitiveness, hurts exporters, damages farmers and manufacturers. But this government cares more about optics than sustainability, more about short-term applause than long-term stability. The $214 million scandal. Nothing exposes the government's failure better than the gold board for reserve disaster. In just 9 months, we lose $240 million. $240 million gone. That is 2.6 billion cedis, money that could have been built, that could have built hospitals, equipped schools, and established storage facilities for farmers. Instead, it was lost in a politically connected gold scheme. Now, let us be clear. The Gold for Reserves program was the brainchild of the NPP government under President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. We conceptualized it, we designed it, we initiated it, and under our administration, it was managed with discipline, transparency, and accountability. The program, as we designed and implemented it, did not lose $214 million in 9 months. So what changed? The government and the people running the program. When President Mahama returned to power, he inherited a functioning program. He politicized it. He expanded it recklessly. He placed it in unprepared and potentially conflict hands, and the result speaks for itself. The Gold Board and the Bank of Ghana, masters of financial misdirection. The IMF, in just 9 months, has documented losses of $214 as a result of the operations of Gold Board and Bank of Ghana. Gold Board and Bank of Ghana has responded. On 3rd January 2026, he emphatically denied that Gold Board made any losses. The governor, or the CEO of Gold Board, generated over 960 million in revenue against 120 million Ghana Ghana cedis in expenditure, promising a surplus of 700 to 800 million cedis. These are bold claims, but they do not address the core issue raised in the IMF report. The first sleight of hand, conflating operational accounts with program performance. Gold Board can charge agency fees and earn commissions. None of that addresses whether the gold for reserve program itself is loss-making. Here is the analogy. A fund manager who charges 2% fees on $1 billion fund earns $20 million in fees. But what if the fund itself loses $200 million? The management company shows a profit the fund has created. This is exactly what Gold Board is doing. This shows us Gold Board's fee income. This does not show us the actual program performance. The IMF found the $214 million in losses in the actual gold trading operations, and Gold Board's response was to show us agency fees and call it a surplus. That is not transparency. This is misdirection. The Gold Board's second issue, the Bank of Ghana, excuse me, the Bank of Ghana shall gain. How can an institution that is not making losses transfer losses it has not made? Gold Board explains that the program is funded by the Bank of Ghana, sits on their books, so any losses are theirs. But here is what is omitted. Who manages the program? Who executes purchases? Who negotiates with off-takers? Gold Board does. The bank provides funding and bears financial risk, but Gold Board makes the operational decision that determines profit or loss. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, if I give you $100 million to invest and you lose $20 million through poor decisions, technically it is my loss. But you made the decision that caused it. You are responsible. You are accountable. You cannot claim credit for successes and then disclaim responsibility for failures. The third dodge, we inherited it. Gold Board is only 8 months old. He says, how can we be responsible for legacy losses? The IMF report covers the first 9 months of 2025. Gold Board was established on 2nd April 2025. That means at least 5 months of losses occurred under Gold Board's management. The point is this: a functioning program has been turned into a loss-making operation, and the public deserves full disclosure. The offtaker fee scandal. The IMF specifically highlighted excessive off-takers fees. Off-takers are intermediaries who purchase gold from small-scale miners in a well-managed program. Fees should be competitive. For example, 2 to 3% of gold value. But the IMF identified excessive off-takers fee as a major driver of losses. Fees for above market rates that destroy value. Who selected these off-takers? Who negotiated these fees? Who approved these contracts? These decisions were executed within the operational chain of the program. Why would any manager agree to excessive fees? Two possibilities. Incompetence. The team did not understand gold trading economics. Corruption. The fee structure may have been designed to benefit private interests. In our view, management had conflated fee income with program performance. They have refused to disclose critical information. When confronted with IMF findings, they deny rather than investigate. Our verdict is that this program is being protected from scrutiny, despite clear red flags. Any competent manager knows that a well-managed gold program should not lose money in a rising gold price environment. 2025 was a bull market for gold. So how do you lose $214 million trading gold in a bull market? You pay excessive fees, you buy above market and sell at market. You take poorly structured positions, or you leak value through opaque arrangements. The IMF identified excessive off-taker fees. A competent manager would negotiate disciplined terms, ensure competition among off-takers, and publish fee structures for transparency. That has not happened. From defendant to protector. But Gold Board is not alone. The governor of the Bank of Ghana must also be raising. The governor of Bank of Ghana must also answer serious questions. The governor was elevated by President Mahama, and before the elevation, he was one of the beneficiaries of the Attorney General's knowledge protocol. He faced charges for his previous role at the central bank. Those charges are discontinued through knowledge protocol, and then he was elevated to governor. He faced the institution that funds the Gold for Reserves program, the institution whose balance sheet bears the $214 million loss, the institution that should have provided rigorous oversight. Under governor's watch, these losses occurred. Excessive fees were allowed. Trading losses mounted. Controls failed. And when the IMF exposed these losses, the Bank of Ghana issued press release dismissing the IMF's concern defense instead of scrutiny. As governor, he must answer, what oversight did the bank provide? When did they become aware of losses? Why defend and deny rather than investigate? Who approved the off-takers' contracts? And critically, as someone who benefited from the nolle prosequa, does he not see the public concern when accountability questions arise again around politically exposed actors? Abandoned farmers, rotten crops. While this government burns millions of unquestionable gold scheme, our farmers watched their harvest rot. Rice farmers in the northern region brought in bumper harvest. They planted, they tended, they harvested, and then they waited for a government that had no ready plan. Tons of paddy rice sat rotting. Tomato farmers faced the same nightmare: glut harvest with no storage, no processes, no support. They acted only after demonstrations and threats of boycotts. Too little, too late, too reactive. This is governance by crisis. Think about the contrast. $240 million lost in 9 months on a gold scheme, but no resources ready for farmers until they took to the streets. And while government celebrates cedi appreciation, rice farmers are now face cheaper imported rice flooding markets. Tomato farmers compete with imported concentrate benefiting from the strong cedi. The very farmers government neglected are now undercut by the policies government celebrates. Galamsey, blood money and betrayal. Fellow Ghanaians, on that fateful day of 6th August 2025, 8 citizens of Ghana, including 2 top ministers of state, took to the skies on a mission to confront illegal mining. They never returned. Their helicopter fell from the sky and a nation mourned. This tragic incident should have strengthened national resolve to defend our land, our water, and our children's inheritance. Instead, Ghanaians watch a government that speaks against Galamsey in press conferences while allowing questionable incentives, weak enforcement, and compromised supply chain to persist. This is not merely policy failure, it is betrayal of public trust. Illegal mining continues to expand. Our water bodies are poisoned with mercury and cyanide. Our cocoa farms are destroyed. Our forest reserves are vandalized. The Pearl River and Cobra and Brim increasingly reflect national distress and institutional weakness. As we speak, many parts of Accra are without water. This is happening alongside increased tariffs. When institutions meant to safeguard our environment are subordinated to opaque arrangements, what we witness is not a decisive fight against Galamsey. It is a loss of state control. The blood debt. The tragedy of the helicopter crash and the broader damage of Galamsey demand accountability and reform. Across Ghana, Families lose relatives to cancers, kidney failure, and poisoned water linked to illegal mining. Farmers watch cocoa farms destroyed. Communities watch rivers die. Ghanaians must insist on truth, credible independent investigations, and consequences for the network that profit from destruction. A nation under siege, a security crisis that we are facing. But while this government burns millions on gold schemes and abandoned farms, Ghanaians sleep with one eye open. The security situation has deteriorated, transforming our once peaceful nation into fear and uncertainty. Fellow Ghanaians, 1 year into President John Mahama's renewed mandate, our country is gripped by insecurity that cannot be brushed aside with ceremonies. The Interior Minister has admitted that as of July 2025, Ghana had recorded about 628 cases of armed robbery and 340 murders involving illicit arms, and an alarming toll in just half a year. Ghanaians no longer feel protected in their own homes. The duty to safeguard life and property has weakened under politicized policing and neglect of security services. It is not merely resource, it is priority. Since January 7, 2025, communal and chieftaincy clashes have erupted from Boko to Sampa and Abadom, leaving scores dead and thousands displaced in the Savannah and Upper East area alone. Clashes related to land and traditional authority have killed at least 31 people and uprooted about 48,000 citizens. A government that presides over such pervasive fear without a credible national strategy for prevention, early warning, and rapid response has failed a basic duty of protection. Fellow Ghanaians, kidnapping has risen sharply. Young women and men disappear. Children vanish on their way to school. And the story of an 18-year-old Senegalese goalkeeper, Sheikh Touare, is one of the most heartbreaking examples of how far this has gone. Sheikh came to Kumasi with dreams, lured by what he believed was a genuine football opportunity. His family sent him to Ghana in hope and trust. Instead, they received his body back, murdered by kidnappers. The death tells every investor, tourist, and parent that Ghana's safety reputation cannot be taken for granted. To be clear, the Ghana Police Service deserves commendation for operations like the Efiekuma rescue, where 25 people were freed from captivity after being lured by fraudulent recruitment schemes. These officers risk their lives daily, but a nation cannot survive on reactive heroism alone. We need a comprehensive national security strategy, visible results, and sustained leadership. Meanwhile, border security appears gravely weakened. Illegal arms flow across borders. Criminal gangs operate with impunity. Terror-linked arrests have occurred in the Upper East and Upper West region, The government response has been committed in meetings, but communities remain vulnerable and security forces remain under-resourced. When citizens cannot travel safely on our highways, when parents fear their children would not return home, when investors question whether Ghana can protect assets and personnel, when terrorists probe our borders, this is not merely a security failure, it is a governance crisis. Broken jobs, broken promises, the collapse of the 24-hour economy. Fellow Ghanaians, beneath the speeches and headlines, facts reveal deepening joblessness and broken promises. The Ghana Statistical Service and independent analysis show that over 1 million young people remain unemployed or underemployed, while survey rank unemployment as the number one concern of citizens. Yet, since January 7, 2025, thousands of public servants have reportedly been dismissed through directives associated with the Office of the Chief of Staff, plunging households into hardship. These dismissals are not mere statistics. They represent teachers, nurses, administrators, and professionals. In a country battling structural unemployment and widening gap, politically colored job losses are economically self-defeating. They stand in stark contrast to the promise of a transformative 24-hour economy, one job, 3 shifts around the clock. The human cost of this failure reached tragic expression at Elwag Stadium, where job seekers were packed into unsafe conditions for a recruitment exercise, leading to a deadly stampede. To date, Ghanaians deserve fuller transparency on investigations, accountability, and the measures in place to prevent any reoccurrence. This lack of public accountability is unacceptable in any serious democracy. Ghanaians deserve a full update on the investigations, the officials held liable, and concrete measures to ensure no young person ever dies again simply for seeking the dignity of work. This is not merely interpretation. It reads as an attempt to weaken independent oversight. The Attorney General speaks of operations recover the loot, over 200 cases, 33 against former appointees. But actions suggest it is not consistently about accountability. It appears selective. Real accountability will be blind to party. It would investigate the $214 million loss, insist on transparency, and uphold one standard of justice. Instead, selective accountability, partisan accountability, and competence. Headlines are plentiful, but convictions are scarce. Investigations into major current losses are unclear. Accountability for present officials is resisted. Let's look at governance by propaganda. One defining failure, the substitution of governance with propaganda. Government communication flood social media, infographics, and jingles replace audited reports as institutional transparency. They celebrate GDP growth while farmers' rice rots. They trumpet city appreciation while tomatoes waste. They announce corruption cases but secure no conviction. They praise macro stability while losing $240 million. They speak of the rule of law while undermining judicial independence. Every failure is defended through spin. Every scandal is drowned out. But facts are stubborn. Reality cannot be spun away forever. Who is playing politics? Government surrogates accuse the opposition of talking down the economy. But consider facts. We left stabilizing indicators. We negotiated the IMF program. We implemented painful reforms. We left a gold for reserve program that worked. We created and respected the OSP even when it investigated our own. This government has ridden reforms while introducing new risk. When an administration presides over $240 million loss, resists scrutiny, abandons farmers, removes a chief justice under contested circumstances, packs the Supreme Court, weaponizes Article 88, establishes two-tier justice, assaults the OSP through the legislation, then litigation, and support cases seeking an unconstitutional third term. The question is not whether criticisms is too harsh. The question is whether the government is being honest. The question is whether we will remain silent while the Constitution is strained. And our answer is clear: no, never, not on our watch. We are calling for action. Fellow Ghanaians, this anniversary is a time for clarity, courage, and action. Our job is to insist on sustainability, legality, and fairness, to defend the Constitution, to speak for abandoned farmers, to project judicial independence, to demand accountability for $214 million, to defend the OSP, to defend term limits when a president seeks to evade them. And we will not be deterred. We will not be silenced. The call for parliamentary investigations. This parliament has constitutional duty to investigate the government. Let me take it again. This parliament has a constitutional duty to investigate what this government seeks to hide. We call on Parliament to immediately establish bipartisan select committees to investigate. First, the $240 million loss in the Gold for Reserve program, subpoena all off-takers contracts, compel Gold Board and Bank of Ghana officials to testify under oath, review all trading data, identify who approved excessive fees and why, determine whether criminal conducts occurred. We will demand parliamentary investigations. We will not relent in demanding accountability, not until Ghana is set on a truly sustainable, just and transparent path. Real support for farmers, real accountability for wasted millions, real judicial independence, not compromised by court packing, real justice that treats all equally, an Attorney General who does not weaponize Article 88, anti-corruption institutions that are protected, not targeted for destruction. May God grant us courage to defend our democracy, and may God make our nation truly great and strong. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
It's okay. Okay. So we want to take this opportunity to thank you. We are unfortunately not taking any questions. I mean, everything is captured in the statement. So please, I would share the soft copy with you, and you can proceed to work on them. Thank you very much. You may stay on for